Wow, all right. I guess we gotta make a video. Hey YouTube, welcome back to Uni X TCG. And here I was in the middle of the night, just chilling. And by chilling, I mean working. I'm always working. And I was doing something that I was gonna announce on Friday, but now I think I'm gonna have to speed it up. And lo and behold, I saw that One Piece on its official Facebook, Twitter, they have released a ban list. And my lord, this is the biggest departure that we have had from the JP side since the Whitebeard Marco Radical limit. This is crazy. So I am going to talk about that in depth. I want to let you guys know that if you haven't joined the UniX fam, this is the best time to do it, because not only are we talking about the ban list, but we're also going to unveil the birth of the UniX TCG Patreon page. That is right. We are going to do that in a different video, but I thought that this video is going to be a good enough space to let you guys know a day early. I'm going to be releasing the first 3 pages of my in-depth deep dive breakdown of Blue Black Sakazuki on both, my Discord, on my Twitter page, on my this YouTube thing, so you guys can kind of understand the content I'm going to be diving into. We've got a couple different tiers starting from $1, $5, $10, $20, and they each have different perks that I'd love for you guys to go check out soon. So by the time this video goes up, there'll be a link to the Patreon, and then I should have the preview of the first article, if not the first article, up by that time. Hope you guys enjoy, but let's talk about this ban list, because woo! And let's see if we can rack it up, get this video to 100 likes or more, but I'm sure with news this hot, it won't have a problem getting up even higher. So let's jump in. Okay, so let us talk about this, because this truly is indeed, indeed, the absolute saucening. This is like, oh my gosh, where do we start? Where do we start? Where do we start? This is just insane. So let's actually just read their first post. Hello, One Piece Pirates, ban restricted card update. And you can see what I'm doing. This is not even, 30 minutes, hasn't even been an hour. Hello, One Piece Pirates. Thank you for playing the One Piece card game. On July 28th, we added 3 cards to the restricted list as a measure to mitigate the high usage and win rate of our red decks, such as leader cards such as OP01 Roronoa Zoro, OP01 02 Trafalgar Law, and OP02 01 or 001 Edward Newgate. Despite these restrictions, we have continued to see these decks play a prominent role in the metagame. In order to provide a more enjoyable user experience of the One Piece card game and promote deck gameplay diversity, we will add the following cards to the banned and restricted list starting on November 10th. That is 8 days. There are events that happen in November and December that this will indeed affect. And I already know what people are going to be saying. Some people are very upset because I'm not going to say it's a crutch. You're not going to catch me here saying that. You play the best deck if you want to win. If you want to win without any excuses on, oh, well, I just got the wrong matchups. Oh, well, I just didn't have a good day. You play the best deck. And frankly, the best deck has been Whitebeard, Law, or Zoro. Hands down, those are the best picks if you want to have success. But we have also had the other side of that, where people are complaining that Whitebeard has had its reign for 3 sets now, which it has. 2 sets. And then on top of having its reign for actually it has 3, 2, 3, and 4. Law has never really fallen out of usability. It's good. Zoro, same thing. So when they reduced, when they took Radical Beam down to 1, it took a defensive card away from all red decks, but it did hinder one of Law's best cards for keeping itself up, as well as Whitebeard, and then Zoro's using it too. It was just too good of a staple. Limiting the Whitebeard card took a top end card away from both Whitebeard as well as Zoro, as well as Luffy, as well as Ace. And it hurt Whitebeard the most, but not enough to put it in the coffin nearly, because Whitebeard never needed that top end. It just switched to more of a mid-range aggression deck. Ace was already the boss card that it needed to be. Now, past that, you also have Blocker Marco. Blocker Marco took away a mid-range option for all of the red decks. He was just a value talon blocker that once you got to a certain part of the game was very, very, very hard to remove and was reliable. And with these cards gone, most people were like very, very happy. However, we did get to the point where bada bing, bada boom, you now have these things that just, these decks were able to shift. Zoro could shift to a more aggro variant or still run its extra deck base, and Whitebeard to shift to more mid-range. Law was virtually untouched, just using its one radical beam and still having the rest of its deck. But now these cards, OPO 116 1-drop Searcher Nami, Edward Newgate, which is from OPO 1 or OPO 2, the first card, the leader that we thought was untouchable, and OPO 2 005 Curly to Dawn, the 2-cost 1-drop Searcher, are now all banned from the game. You also have OPO 3 13 5-drop Marco, limited to 1 because he was an extremely sticky 6K swinger that could pop something small like a small blocker when you hit it to the field and then also pressure your opponent's leader. In Zoro, he was always swinging for 7K, which is a great number against anything but maybe Whitebeard. This was a huge asset to Red. So you can see, Red was the only color that got hit here. And looking at this, we have to talk about these ramifications. Right now, in a lot of Whitebeard and Zoro decks, Ezo is the searcher that is used more often than not, because Ezo can search Fire Fist in Zoro if you're running the extra deck variant. Ezo can search your 2K Jozus. Ezo can search your 1-drop or your 1 of Marco. It can search your previously 4 of 5-drop Marcos. It had so much value. Your Crossfires, all these things. And then in Whitebeard, it searched almost every single card in your deck. It searched your 2Ks, it searched your Vanillas, it searched all of these things, your Whitebeard 1-ofs, your Marco 1-ofs. And so taking out Nami is like interesting, because right now most people are like, oh, well, it was kind of, I don't use Strawbeard, I don't use Straw Hats. But if you have been paying attention to the OPO5 meta, Nami is one of the best searchers for Zoro. It just is. You are gaining more Luffys, we're gaining more Sanjis, we are gaining more Straw Hats, and it becomes better to run the Nami searcher that can hit almost 80%, if not more, of your deck as your 1-drop searcher. So that's gone. Now, when you switch over to Law, this is a very, very important thing that is now missing. Nami can search out your Radical Beam. Nami can search out both of your Zoros, both 3-drop Zoros, the starter deck and the rusher. Nami can search out your 5-drop Luffys. Nami can search out your Chopper blockers. This is the red searcher of your deck, and it searches out almost all of your red cards, your Brook 2Ks, your Sanji 2Ks. This is a massive hit because Law needs to have the combination of Bonnie and Nami to recycle their search effects to be able to create its +1s and snowball out of control. You are now missing half of that setup, and now that you're having cards missing out of your deck that would replace themselves, you are now sitting in a position where your opponent can break your chain of advantage much, much easier, and you're missing one of the best cards in your deck. Nami being banned is a massive, monumental change. Now, let's move over to Whitebeard being banned. This happened way too late, but it is better late than never. Whitebeard is currently out of the game as of the 10th, and we now have all of the rest of November's tournaments and December's tournaments where people cannot use Whitebeard. Now, that being said, a lot of people are like, well, in OP5, Whitebeard's gonna phase out anyway. We have no full way to know that for sure. If you guys have done testing, you guys should have seen that Whitebeard, it may not be as dominant as it used to be, but Whitebeard can still ball in 005. On top of that, technically in Japan, Whitebeard was supposed to start phasing out in set 4. But what we found here is that Whitebeard does not auto lose to Rebecca like it was getting dominated by in the OPO4 meta in Japan. So Whitebeard being put out is more of a precaution, even though it looks like he is to be phased out starting next set. But this is going to open up the last month and a half of tournaments to be Whitebeard free, and that's going to make a lot of diversity, and it's going to give a lot of people the chance that they really, really wanted to show out with a deck that's not Whitebeard. Now, removing Curly to Dan, this part is also a huge hit, because we are now not only looking at Zoro losing its premier searcher. You have to think, Curly to Dan was able to search out Nami Searcher if you ran it, Izo Searcher if you ran it, Otama if you ran it, Gordon if you ran it, Makino if you ran it, Magra if you ran it. This is most of your deck. All those cards are generally ran in 4 copies, sometimes 3 in the Magra. So you're looking at right now 24 cards at minimum. At minimum, you could be looking at 28, 32 cards potentially in certain builds, Sunny Coons, things like that you can now no longer reliably search off using Curly to Dawn. And then on top of searching those out with a singular Dawn under your leader, which you were going to do every turn to begin with, and another Dawn under Curly, you would have had a 5k attacker to go neutral with most leaders that aren't Whitebeard. On top of that, Law is now missing 2 of its red searchers, and because of its nature of having to bounce the opposite color to play the opposite color out, you are now sitting at a position where Law is missing some of its best starter pieces for red, meaning it has to work itself off the ground with no red search. I repeat, unless you are switching to some Whitebeard hybrid where you're using Izos, where you're using Vistas, and you're using other Whitebeard cards, you have to ditch the Straw Hat engine. And the Straw Hat engine was what you were using essentially for the Luffys and the Zoros with your rush potential. Now granted, don't get me wrong, Bonnie still searches those, so you don't have to quite worry yet. You can still search supernovas. However, you are now missing 2 red searchers that could be bounced for green cards, or your green cards like Bonnie in a rest position, you could bounce that to play a red searcher. These cards are missing, that's huge. Now, moving past that, you got the last card on the block, and that is Marco. Now, this one is a little weird to me. I don't necessarily see Marco necessarily just getting bodied I think Marco might have been a little heavy, because I do know that Marco is a good card, but Marco is a 5-drop, so if you play Marco, you're missing half your turn. You can't play Marco and make a significant push. If Marco is breaking a game, you were probably already winning in the first place. However, I do also understand how it was an extremely sticky body that could come back to the field. And if it got destroyed during your turn, its destruction effect would proc twice. And then the other thing is, I guess they don't want to ban Gordon or limit Gordon, especially when they're reprinting another Gordon-esque card in OPO6. But Gordon plus Marco was able to blow up entire 6Ks for 6 Dawn while we're adding a body that was 6K while having him with a recursion effect. And that is where it sort of gets unbearable. There were turns where if you had set up a Gordon previously, you could put a Dawn under Zoro, put a Dawn under Gordon, punch with Gordon for 5k neutral just to take a card from their hand, bottom deck their Gordon, minus 3k on something, and then you can tap 5 and then play Marco. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Dawn step, but you got in a free attack with your Gordon. You're gonna have a free attack with Zoro if you bottom deck Gordon and swing with Zoro while your field's clear, or without pieces that can be hurt, and you play your Marco and you blow up something that was 6k power or less originally, and you add a body on. So I can see where the combo play got there, but I feel like more than anything this is a Zoro hit than a Whitebeard hit, because Whitebeard has some bodies that it can play that are just as destructive, that are vanillas for 1 Dawn less. So this is crazy. Now, looking at the ramifications, this is definitely one of those moments that's going to divide the community, because half the community is going to rejoice for this. Wow, this is Bandai doing what was right over what was profitable. The other half of the community is going to be upset that this Nami hit is happening right before Starter Deck 10 or Ultimate Deck 10, because Ultimate Deck 10 is focusing on the 3 Supernova captains, Luffy, Kid, and Law, and the Luffy cards are red. So we are getting a Nami 1-drop reprint in a deck the same day it becomes banned. November 10th is the official release date, if I'm not mistaken, of the 3 captains Ultimate deck. So we're getting a reprint the same day it was banned, and this card has already been reprinted a couple of times in different rarities as prize cards, and it's about to be banned. And so I do understand both sides of that argument. However, I have to let you know, if you want my opinion, I do think that this is a case of Bandai doing what needed to be done over what was profitable. because they could sell this deck based off of its strengths, or they could address the format and make it a better gaming experience that people that, I don't know, don't want to play Whitebeard or Zoro or Law could actually have a game where they could play their things. You have to remember, when it comes to competitiveness, this was meant as a game to be an everyman's game with a high value on character fantasy. I do believe that is why Whitebeard lasted till this point, because they did not want to ban a fan favorite character. They wanted to make sure that everybody could join the game and plays their favorite character. But in that sense, Whitebeard sitting there dominating the format like he did prevents you from playing other characters that you like. Same with Zoro, same with Law. So Whitebeard is the only one out of those three leaders that you could not hamper by trimming around him. No matter what, being a 6K body and having the ability to see more cards than the average deck until Sakazuki is always going to trump the card pool. You just have to play the best red cards and Whitebeard will be good. Now, Zoro and Law work a little differently. Law has its cantrips and its body replacements, its floaters that are eventually going to snowball out of control when he starts using his shambles effect to start putting things on and off the board without losing cards in hand. Now, Zoro has the ability to play out an entire field while not losing momentum in hand control because it is constantly playing bodies that replace themselves in hand. So removing Nami and removing Curly to Dawn take care of problems from both of those decks. It doesn't kill them outright, but it does slow down how they effectively play, and it makes you have to go outside of their optimal choices. Zoro will not be able to play straight Namis and Straw Hat Crew Searchers. You're gonna have to get wonky with it, whether it's 2 years at San Pelago, whether it's a more Whitebeard eccentric build. Same with Law. Law can still use Ezo. Law can still use Vista. Law can still use some of these cards, but it's not gonna be as efficient as what they once had Curly Dawn and Nami. So with that being said, let me know what your thoughts are on this thing. This is just huge. Let me know what your thoughts are on this ban list. Let me know exactly how you feel. On the metric side, like I said, I want to see if we can get this video well above 100 likes. I think we can do it. And then on top of that, if you guys want to look in the description and check out my link for my Patreon page, it is almost done. I just have to do some of the about me steps. I already have the thing set up on my Discord. I already have the tier set up so you can see what you're into. I just have to finish doing the little icons and the graphics, because I always make my graphics by myself, my banners, my icons, all those things. So I just have to finish that, and I'm probably gonna do it tonight. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. Check out the Patreon, see what you guys think, give me some feedback on that, and I'll be making more posts towards that in the future. This is a crazy, wild thing. You gotta let me know. Thanks. Bye.